guys, Mary here. Hope you're doing well. This message is for primarily parents of young kids, whether they're just starting to learn language or they're an early language learner. But part of it can be helpful for, I think, any parent or anyone that's around kids or planning to have kids or just interested in thinking about the back and forth dynamic of language. So I had just sent out my email to the clients that I work with every week with some strategies and activity ideas, and I wanted to elaborate on one of the points that I was making in the email, show my face on here, get some dialogue going. So I was talking about ways that we can cue turns for kids. And what I mean by that is usually conversation is it's a call and response, it goes back and forth. And sometimes with young kids, we might find that our child needs more cueing to take a turn in the conversation or take the first turn in the conversation. So the first thing to keep in mind when you're thinking about this is what level of cueing that your child might need. Of course, there's a spectrum of your child being super social. Maybe your kid, when you take them to the playground, is the first one to go up to other kids and say hi and introduce themselves. They're super chatty, and it's really easy for them to just go up to others and take the first turn in a conversation. So that's one end of the spectrum. The other end are kids that maybe they don't know how to express themselves, or it's a skill that they're not yet confident in. They're a little more nervous. Maybe it's a child who's just more of a listener than a talker. And there's nothing wrong with being on any part of the spectrum, but it just means that the way that we intentionally think about talking with these kids is going to change. So a kid that's more social, they're not going to need as many cues. They're just doing it. But a kid that's maybe a little bit more quiet, they might need just a little more guidance, more invitations. I like to think of this more as invitations for your child to speak, more so than putting demands on the child to talk. So one of my big things is getting rid of say this, but rather inviting the child to speak and making communication as positive as possible. So important to just keep in mind where your child is on that spectrum, and also it might change activity to activity. So maybe if your kid is like very intent on playing with cars and it's kind of their like solo activity, they're not really talking a lot. Whereas maybe when it's mealtime or bedtime or bath time, where it's more of a, we're doing this activity together, it's more tactile, it's just naturally more social. So you're also going to see like there's times that I'm going to need to cue my kid more in some of these like quieter activities or just activities your kid's not talking as much in. So there's two ways to cue your kid. Either it's going to be nonverbal, such as just looking at your kid very intentfully with eye contact, smiling, acting excited. They're going to be like, oh, mom's showing me something or dad's showing me something. Or pointing is a good way to cue a turn, so just like pointing at something and being quiet. So these are all nonverbal ways to cue the first turn or a turn in the conversation. That, or it might look verbal. So you might be, asking them a question to cue their turn in the conversation, because then you're giving that expectation to respond. Or maybe you make a comment, or you give them a choice between two things that now they have to ask for one of them. So those are some verbal ways that you could cue a turn. And it's nice to, just be a little mindful of what you most naturally do. And of course, no way of cueing a turn is wrong. It's just an exploratory way of thinking of what do I normally do? How does my child react? Are they just giving me one word back when I do this, versus if I give them a choice, they're using like 2 to 3 words, which is great. So this is just something that I wanted to talk out loud and let you know that I am welcome to any dialogue. So if you want to send me a voice chat or a message in the comments, that would be awesome and welcome. I'm I'm also open to doing calls with parents or adults that spend a lot of time with kids. If you just need someone to guide you or problem solve or talk or share strategies with. So I'm open to all of that. I hope this video was helpful to you, and I look forward to talking more in the future. Thank you.